Kamiti Prison is ranked as the highest grade of any other maximum prison in Kenya, where escaping is unimaginable. But for the guy we're going to talk about today, managed to escape from Kamiti not once, not twice, but 4 successful times. Welcome to the Insight Edition. My name is Maxwell, and on today's episode of Criminal Diaries, we're going to look into the interesting case of Edward Shimoli, aka the Jackal. Edward Shimoli grew up in Butere, Mumias. Not much is known about his childhood, but it's important to note that at the age of 20, he had made his steps into the world of crime. He formed a gang named the Dream Team that terrified not only the residents, but also the police officers. They operated under one cardinal rule: never to rob someone from the neighborhood. They were all about the big league bank heist. In the early 90s, Shimoli came up properly into the police scope. By then, he operated under the names Philip Opio Ouma and Osman Arab Songok, and had identification cards for both of them. In July 1996, Shimoli and his gang staged a robbery sprung at the middle of CBD Nairobi. They walked into the Bank of Baroda toting guns and walked out with 5 million shillings. In the case that followed, cops had the closest encounter with him by then. They shot at his gang near Safari Park on Thika Road and killed one of his accomplices. The rest of the gang vanished with the loot. He got so good at evading capture that he was nicknamed Carlos the Jackal after the Venezuelan terrorist. Somehow, even at the height of his criminal activities, Shimoli would still find time to hang out at his best chewing miraa with his boys. On the same year, the police were tipped off that Shimoli was hiding out in Kino, Kiambu County. So they made a beeline for the area, but it was too late. By the time they arrived, he had disappeared yet again. The police found an AK-47, 2 pistols, stolen cars, fake number plates, and a police radio he had been using to listen to them when they were making plans all along. Shimoli's favorite gun was a Taurus pistol. He used it liberally, driving terror into those who heard about him. On the flip side, he still maintained the maxim, never robbing people from his hood. Actually, he did the opposite. He stopped petty crimes in his neighborhood. If someone reported a robbery to him, or if he heard that one of his neighbors had been robbed, he'd carry out his investigations, pin the perpetrators down, and give them 24 hours to return the stolen goods. On one fateful day, after Shimoli had involved himself in a series of bank robberies, someone tipped the police that the homeboy was chilling at his 4-bedroom house. At dawn, cops were there with their guns drawn. They told his neighborhoods to stay asleep as they called out for Shimoli to surrender. By the time they had the guards to check the house, he had somehow already vanished. Lucks ran out for everyone, or maybe everyone gets lucky. If you are looking at it from the perspective of the cops, one of their many traps finally bore fruit, and Shimoli found his way to the headlines as he was escorted to the Kiambu Law Courts under the watch of 300 officers. Contrary to their expectations, the man they had chased for so long was soft-spoken and polite. He cooperated extensively with the officers, something he could do every time he got arrested. He even went as far as showing them where he hid guns, denying them any excuse to kill him. Mr. Edward was charged with 14 murders, 88 rapes, drug deals, and countless robberies. He was found guilty, sentenced to death, and sent to Kamiti Maximum Prison. In prison, Shimoli continued surprising everyone. He was quiet and one of the best behaved prisoners. The warden said no reason to antagonize him. What they did not know is that he was watching their every move. He memorized their number, their duty routines, communications, security protocols, and conditions. He searched for weaknesses and things that appealed to them, then started bribing the guards. One morning, he broke the prison door and escaped after breaking one of the prison warden's leg, who saw and tried to stop him. A search was mounted, but Shimoli managed to escape into Ruiru Forest and rejoined his gang. As a mark of his badassery, Shimoli made casual visits to his home. He was still angry, someone had betrayed him, and they would pay for it. One day, a neighbor spotted him sharpening his panga. He did not dare ask what it was being prepared for. 2 days later, he strode into Jericho Market and dragged a man away from his lunch. He accused him of betraying him to the police and proceeded to hack him to death in front of everyone. He also shot the man's wife in the back. The dead man was his brother-in-law. His crime spree continued. The Special Crimes and Prevention Unit was assigned his case, but his escapes still piled up. Shimoli made a total of 4 escapes from jail, seemingly on a single-person mission. One time he shot and injured 2 officers who spotted and tried to stop him in a stolen Mercedes in town. Shimoli was ambushed by the police and presented before the Kibera Law Court under maximum security. And after hearing, Shimoli was escorted to the cells awaiting his transfer. Somehow, in a manner that no one seemed to have been able to explain, they lost him. Shimoli just slipped through their fingers like he wasn't the most wanted Kenyan criminal alive. The police were accused of aiding his escape, and to ward off more embarrassments, they mounted a 24-hour manhunt. 3 days later, Shimoli was arrested again, but this time he was wounded. He was taken to Kenyatta National Hospital for treatment. The plan was to take him to Kamiti prison after treatment. 20 police officers came through to bolster the escort detail. Shockingly, on their way to Kamiti, bullets started raining on them, and by the time the gunshot stopped, Shimoli and his people were gone. They took him to their hideout and got him treated in hiding. Now the police were panicking. There was no possible explanation on how one person could be so slippery, so they went after him with everything they had. One time in a close shave, they shot down 3 of his accomplices, with Shimoli escaping narrowly. From then onwards, he stopped his daytime missions and concentrated on working at night. He got multiple identities and tried to be a ghost, but he was just one man against a world system. The Special Crime and Prevention Unit and Flying Squad were using low-ranking criminals to get close to him. He was got on the same year, and this time they got him locked up properly for 8 solid years. On March 15, 2007, his sentence came to an end, but Shimoli the Jackal refused to leave prison. His reason for shying away from freedom was that his life was in danger. He was forced out anyway. He moved back to his home in Jericho, where he converted to Islam and got a new Islamic name, and that was Mohammed Shaban Maina. Mohammed Shaban was unlike the old Shimoli. He was religious and prayerful. He ventured into taxi business. On 26th of August the same year, Shimoli went missing at the age of 38. His body would be found later on Kangundo Road, hands still tied and 10 bullets in his body. His family went to identify his body at City Mortuary, and later on, they buried him at Kariakor Muslim Cemetery. Reports claim that he was killed by police officers who were convinced that he still had money from his robberies, which they supposedly wanted him to hand it over to them. Shimoli left behind a wife and 2 children.